Giving TDs 50 seconds each to debate what is the most fundamental set of restrictions to rights in this state in its history is not democracy. I agree with the points that Deputy Kieran O'Donnell made earlier. I disagree with him to the extent that until the questions he asked are answered, and I don't expect that you're going to answer them, Minister Donnelly, but until they're answered, I don't think we should be rolling over further powers. But I agree very much with the points and the questions that he raised. But we do need to debate this. And if we don't debate it in this chamber, where is it to be debated? Is it to be debated on social media, where people are just attacking each other? Is it to be debated outside the gates of Leinster House by violent groups attacking each other? I want to be abundantly clear. I abhor violence, and in particular political violence, because it brings people down a cul-de-sac of destruction. But if you, the government, do not allow us time to debate this in this House, it will be debated elsewhere. Don't condone it. I don't sympathise with it. I simply make the point that I grew up in a house where we were fundamentally proud of the fact, because my parents were elderly. They were of a generation that believed it was a fantastic thing that we had the right to determine our own affairs, and we had a Dáil in this country which could determine its affairs. And today, to me, represents the most fundamental failing of that state in its history. Yes, the state has a duty to protect the health and the lives of its citizens, but it equally has a duty to allow people to get about their lives and develop systems to keep them safe while they go about their lives. And the state has singularly failed to do that, failed to take any measures, failed to learn anything from the nursing homes, failed to look at the recommendations of a COVID committee. 19 TDs, not me, 19 TDs from your group, Minister Ryan, from your group, Minister Donnelly, from every single group in this House, sat and arrived at a consensus document with recommendations, none of which have been debated, none of which have been implemented. What is the point in parliamentary democracy? And I know there are groups in this state who seek to undermine democracy and seek to undermine parliamentary debate. But all of this failure to debate things adequately feeds into them. So I ask you to consider the approach that you've taken in this. I ask you to allow for debate before you ram votes through, before you give ministers another 7 months to bring in incredibly restrictive measures which are entirely disproportionate and which absolve the state of its failures, rather than give any incentive for the state to try to do something. And I wish to return to one point Deputy McGrath said. There's a measure in this, Deputy Donnelly, I don't know whether you're aware of it or not, you must be, you signed it, that priests will be committing a criminal offence if they open the doors of their churches to Mass. Now, I know lots of priests don't want to say Mass, don't believe it's appropriate to say Mass at this time. And that is absolutely their prerogative. I'm not a Mass goer, by the way, but I know in the community that I represent how important it is for people to go to Mass, to go to church, to go to mosques. And you deny them that? Are you going to send out Gardaí after priests that do decide to say Mass? Because if you're thinking of that, I have one word: don't. Don't, Minister. So, my time is up, and I do thank you. I haven't had the time to look at the substance of any of what's proposed or any of the failings of our testing and tracing system. The inevitable failings of a PCR test. It may be the best test available, but it's inadequate. But I thank you for the latitude which you've afforded me, Las Concorla.
Thank you, Deputy. That's the end of the debate.